extensive damage to the utility infrastructure. I saw massive numbers of utility poles snapped in half, lines everywhere. So that's going to take a big effort. But our view was we don't want to wait till the causeway is done before you even start on the power. Want to be doing this in tandem. So it's not ideal that you have to barge people in because you're limited by your barge capacity, but I think it's something that's important. So you're going to have, I guess there's going to be there is a base camp set up there now. So they actually have a base camp for utility workers on Sanibel. So they'll be sleeping there, working there, and we understand that that's important. So those two islands and then the Fort Myers Beach are kind of the outstanding. There are a couple LCEC pockets. They said that they're going to have it all done today. But if you remember, their initial prognosis was this going to take almost to the end of October. We surged in thousands of linemen, and so that really was able to move it up. So hopefully all the people that can receive power on the mainland get that, if they haven't already, that they have that today, and we're hopeful for that. But that is something you talk to your utility about. There's been over 2,500 rescues done. Over 1,000 search and rescue personnel have gone door to door. They've done 108,000 structures to check on occupants. So that's an incredible effort over really a relatively short period of time because we had a lot of massive resources. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved, local law enforcement, local first responders, urban search and rescue, Coast Guard, Florida Fish and Wildlife, all these assets mobilized, excuse me, to be able to help. And there's a lot, Jimmy Petronas was down with me in Surfside, Kevin Guthrie, when the condo collapsed. And the problem with that was after the first however many 12 hours, any news you got was all bad news because you're finding people that had passed away in the collapse. Well, these rescue missions were able to save a lot of people, and not everyone needed to be rescued off the island. Some were fine, but they were stabilized. They were able to get whatever assistance they need. So really heroic effort, Herculean effort by our first responders, and I know these communities will really, really appreciate it. We also very quickly established these points of distribution for water and food, and we did it quicker than we've ever done it. The good news is we do have 8 of those remaining. 6 are in Lee County. Most of the pods that were initially set up have basically been asked to close by the counties because there hasn't been as big of a need many days after the storm, which is good news. That's because the stores are open, things are starting to bounce back. So that's great, and we will put resources where they're needed. But it's been almost 50 million bottles of water distributed and 2.6 million pounds of ice. So that's a massive amount of relief. Also, the National Guard has handed out 130,000 blue tarps. Now, not everyone who is getting it has roof damage. Some people, you give them a tarp, they want a tarp because you never know what will happen. That's fine. But you do see some people utilizing those tarps, and we're happy to be able to do it. We now have 450 SpaceX Starlink internet devices deployed in the impacted areas. Obviously, connectivity has done better in recent days than immediately after the storm. Nevertheless, if there's pockets, we want to use that, and those have been really, really good. Thanks to the First Lady's efforts, the Florida Disaster Fund has raised a record $41 million for storm relief. And if you want to contribute, you can go www.floridadisasterfund.org or text disaster to 20222. So they've already deployed some of the money. So we were just over in Punta Gorda, and we met with 2 groups. We met with Operation Rubicon. Then we met with an organization that their job is to provide tools to the people that are responding to help citizens in need. So, for example, Rubicon was in Charlotte County. They've been in Charlotte County. They helped a fellow from the American Legion. I went and saw him and met with them. And so they have these people. They come and they help fix debris. They get trees cleared. They can help you gut your drywall, get your carpet if you had flooding. Really, really good. They may need different tools. And so this group will provide tools for people that are going to help with home restoration. And that's a huge, huge thing. So they have massive numbers of tools. They're handing out a bunch of tools to the private organizations. But man, we've got some great people on the ground here who are working really, really well. And it's just it's an honor to be working with them. And if the First Lady's Fund can help them expand their efforts and be a force multiplier, we're going to do that. So the tools and some of these are groups that can qualify for that money because we want to continue with the progress. We know there's a lot of people. And if you think about it, some folks, some of the elderly, you have a big tree in your front yard and you're 84 years old. Are you just going to be able to move that by yourself? No, you need people to come help you. So you have Rubicon, you have these other groups that are really doing a fantastic job. So we want to continue to do that. We're also going to be having more announcements about other ways that the fund is helping get people back on their feet after what's been almost now we're going to be Wednesday will be 2 weeks from the storm making landfall. It's been it seems like almost yesterday in some respects, and then it's like these have been long hours for a lot of people. People that displaced has been really tough. All the first responders have been working around the clock. These groups, FEMA, state, everybody really working. So this has been a round the clock effort. But this fund, I think, is helping some really good groups. And these guys are battle hardened. They've been to Hurricane Ida in Louisiana. They've been to these Kentucky floods. They go where the need is greatest, and they consistently do that. So we're proud to have them here. And I think to say more about what's going on with the disaster fund, I'm proud to recognize our First Lady.
I'll just say of that $41 million that we've raised so far, the first $1 million out the door went to organizations like Tool Bank and Team Rubicon, who are on the ground helping folks. We also understand that this is going to be a long-term recovery for a lot of folks. And while FEMA is there, the state is there, we want to ensure that those funds are there to help people get back on their feet, because we've seen so many people who have had flooding in their homes that might not necessarily have had flood insurance. So we're reducing the red tape and the bureaucracy to ensure that we can raise as much funds as possible to get those to the folks, and also making sure that we're doing our due diligence and that there's no scamming. So we'll have the reduction of the red tape, but at the same time, we want to get it out as quickly as possible because we know that folks are really going to need that. On the other side, in addition to the funds, by the way, we've had more than 60,000 individual contributors across the country to the fund, which is great. We need to keep it up. So FloridaDisasterFund.org. If you can keep promoting that, we need to raise more funds. Another thing that we're doing, I was in Sarasota the other day, and I was at one of the disaster recovery sites, and I saw families in there meeting with all of the folks that they need, their private insurance, the state representatives from the Department of Economic Opportunity, FEMA, but I also saw a lot of kids. And as you saw a second ago, I have a 4-year-old running around, and sometimes their attention spans don't go very long. And so one thing that we're going to work on is a toy drive. And we're going to do this toy drive through our faith-based and nonprofit partners. And what we would ask the people across the state of Florida to donate a toy. We're going to donate it to our faith and community-based partners, and then they will deliver it to the DRC. So don't worry about coming here to bring the toys. Bring it to our faith community partners, and we'll have that on a website very shortly. But I'll tell you, in Charlotte County, Murdoch Baptist Church, and in Lee County, Next Level Church. And, they're saying, well, if we have all the toys and, we have so many DRCs, what are we going to do with the rest of them? And I said, you know what? The holidays are right around the corner. And I'm sure there's a lot of great kids out there that have been through some tough times that would love to see a toy on their doorstep. So thank you for what you're doing, the generosity of all of the people across the state and the country. And we're only getting started with the fund. So God bless you.
All right. Kevin?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, First Lady, for your leadership, your continued leadership and continued support. I want to thank the CFO behind me for his support, and also Secretary Eagle. These men and women have been on the ground every single day since this disaster has happened, and we could not do it. I couldn't do what I do here without their help and their state agencies. So, again, thank you very much to all the state agencies. We now have a total of, as the governor said, 9 disaster recovery centers that increase the accessibility resources for residents across Central and Southwest Florida. All DRC sites are open daily from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. with the exception of Lee County. Lee County has extended hours from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. These are one-stop shops that provide residents with needed assistance to better help them understand the recovery process. But as the governor has said, you do not have to come here in person. You can actually do FEMA registration online. However, if you need a driver's license or you need a copy of a birth certificate or sometimes a death certificate, some of those vital statistics, the Department of Health is here on site with their vehicles to produce those documents on site, as well as the Florida Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicles can produce driver's licenses here on site. You can speak with representatives and learn more about the programs that the state and the FEMA has to offer. You can get an update on your status of your FEMA application here on site. You can speak with someone to help you understand any letters of notices you may receive from FEMA, and then information on locating housing or rental assistance. We understand that navigating the recovery process and programs available may be very overwhelming. Please know that the division, along with your local, state, and federal partners, will be here throughout this process. At this particular site, I'll give a shout out real quick to the guys that are wearing indelible t-shirts. Those are our contract staff that come in and help out to help you navigate that process. So again, we appreciate Indelible being here and helping you guys navigate that. This particular site in the coming days, obviously working in a parking lot is not ideal, but we didn't want to unnecessarily delay being able to give assistance. So in this particular site, in the coming days, we'll be moving to a brick and mortar location with air conditioning and so on. But we didn't want to unnecessarily delay people in this community from getting assistance. So know that in the coming days, we'll be moving this to a nearby site, probably a mall. Now that some of the first responder assets have moved out and are going back home, we can clean up those facilities, make them ready to receive these services. So just know that we will be moving this location in the coming days. In addition to individual and public assistance, there are several programs that are available, including the FEMA Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program and low interest loans from the Small Business Administration. The governor has already talked about low interest loans with SBA and obviously what's available in Secretary Eagle's shop. But let me talk very quickly about TSA, the Transition Shelter Assistance Program. This is where qualified individuals will be able to go move out of a shelter and move into a hotel. That starts with your FEMA registration. You need to make sure that you're registered for FEMA, get into the system so that we can start managing you into those available programs. Please know that FEMA will contact you probably with an automated system that will either call you, and it'll be an automated system, or they'll text you on an automated system, or they will email you on an automated system based on the information you provided in your registration intake. Please make sure you return those phone calls. Please make sure that you follow up on that information so that we can get you into some type of temporary shelter, which may include a hotel or motel. Activating this program is just another step in the long line of actions that we will continue to take, both FEMA and the Division of Emergency Management and supporting agencies, to help you make sure the recovery process goes as smoothly as possible. I encourage every impacted resident to apply for individual assistance and also to inquire about the TSA program. In addition to residents impacted in Charlotte, Lee, so this is where TSA and economic injury disaster loans are turned on. The following counties are Charlotte, Collier, DeSoto, Flagler, Hardy, Highlands, Hillsborough, Lake, Lee, Manatee, Orange, Osceola, Pinellas, Polk, Putnam, St. John's, Sarasota, Seminole, Volusia counties are all eligible for those programs. Small business loans are also, and some private nonprofit organizations are also included in adjacent counties. Those adjacent counties are Alachua, Bradford, Brevard, Broward, Clay, Duval, Glades, Hendry, Indian River, Marion, Miami-Dade, Monroe, Okeechobee, Pasco, and Sumter counties. And I'm sure the secretary will probably follow up a little bit on those small business loans. I want to emphasize to residents that FEMA individual assistance does not include debris removal. When we talk about debris removal being covered, that's for public assistance. That's for government entities. So I want to tell you how you can take advantage of getting assistance to help your private property debris. If a contractor tells you that they're a debris removal service and you're on your home and you can be reimbursed through FEMA, that is 100% incorrect. Again, if some contractor comes to your site and says, I can get that covered by FEMA, they are lying. Again, I've said it before, tell them to pack sand and leave. All right? Do not take that. If you need help with your debris removal, here's the following thing you need to do. call our crisis cleanup line at 1-800-451-1954. Again, that's 1-800-451-1954. You can call that line and we will get you free volunteer agency assistance to come to your home and help you get that debris to the roadway. Last, and I'd be remiss if I did not mention that today marks the 4 years since Hurricane Michael made impact in the Panhandle. It also just happens to be my 4 year with state government. Yes, the first day I got to state government, I had a Cat 5 hurricane hit the Panhandle. I don't know if there's something about that, sir. I'm sorry. In the aftermath of the storm, first responders from this area provided relief and refuge to those impacted in the Panhandle. And today we see many from the Panhandle here in this community today. To date, nearly $2.5 billion has been obligated by FEMA for Hurricane Michael. This should serve as a reminder to the state of Florida that we are resilient together. Both FEMA, Florida Division of Emergency Management, and its mutual aid and state partners. Governor, and a special thanks to all the folks working here today at the newly open DRC. I thank you for your service. I thank you for your leadership.
Okay, Dane.
Well, every chance I get, I want to start by thanking the governor and the first lady for their commitment to Southwest Florida and the impacted areas. As a Southwest Floridian, I'm honored to be in this position to be able to help, but I'm more honored to work alongside them because of the leadership they've given to have one of the fastest and most comprehensive responses in the history of emergency response. It's both short-term and long-term, and the long-term commitment that the governor made today and the first lady is what I want to harp on. Now, DEO, we're responsible for helping the communities get stood up and get the economies rolling. We've been very helpful in getting these set up through working with Jimmy Petronis and the Assurance Villas, as Kevin Guthrie and his team, and also DCF through the HOPE coordinators that the First Lady spearheading, and all of our other state agencies. We're able to stand up DUA, disaster and employment assistance, to the governor's leadership, but also help connect with jobs. At one of these events, Kevin leaned in and said, hey, I've got vendors who are looking for workers. And I said, well, I've got people looking for work. So we stood up a website immediately. You can learn all about disaster and employment assistance, work opportunities, and the bridge loans the governor mentioned at floridadisaster.biz. But the long-term commitment is what's extremely important that we're talking about today. The governor just mentioned $126 million being awarded today on the 4-year anniversary to the communities impacted by Hurricane Michael. You can expect to see that commitment here in Southwest Florida. At DEO, we have the Office of Long-Term Resiliency, and we focus on helping communities get back on their feet long after all others have left. FEMA is doing an amazing job helping with immediate response in partnership with our teams here on the ground, but their time will come and go. The insurance companies will come and go. The cameras will come and go, but we as a state will be here to assist. We are announcing the $126 million announced today is now over $700 million that we've been able to award to Panhandle communities, and that's up to $1.9 million that we've been able to award across Florida for long-term resiliency. Nearly $800 million for Hurricane Irma, around $100 million for Matthew and Irmine, which are 2016 storms. We're about to announce $200 million for Hurricane Sally, which is 2 years ago. Now they're long-term. These are things like helping roads, water, sewer, hardening shelters, hospitals, police stations. But also today we're announcing that we've helped rebuild 500 homes in the Panhandle. Again, some are underinsured. FEMA can't help. So we're going to come in the long term and help those get up and off their feet. Now, a lot of that we're announcing, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years later. That's part of the design. Some of that's bureaucracy. Go figure, state and federal government in general. We want to cut through that red tape. The governor's committed to doing so. We're already working with Congress to try to expedite that. And with our hope, a year from now, we could start making awards. And while I mentioned nearly 800 for Irma, 700 for Michael, maybe we can get $1 billion for Southwest Florida and the surrounding communities. So we'll be standing by. We'll be fighting to make sure that you are not forgotten. And with this governor, I can assure you that he will be here day in, day out to make sure that you have what you need. Thank you.
Jimmy?
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Whether you're here from Okaloosa County, thank y'all so much for being here to take care of our folks here in Southwest Florida or over here in Fort Pierce. Thank y'all so much for being here. The recovery it's not a sprint, it's a march. Every single day, I promise you, it's going to get better. But what I've got to have is some cooperation from you, and you've got to have a little bit of your own street smarts, a little savvy. If anybody's offering you anything for free, you don't need to take the bait. We're in the recovery mode. There's going to be a tremendous amount of dollars poured into this area, primarily by your insurance companies. As of today, insurance companies since 2 weeks ago have already paid out $207 million worth of insurance claims already. So they are here, they're doing their job, they're writing checks. I just want to make sure every one of those dollars goes to you, not to some predator who gets you to sign up for something you don't realize what you're signing. So you're under duress. So if somebody offers you gas or a kickback or money, it's not worth it. I can't protect every single transaction at every single doorstep. We're going to do our absolute best. So this is where we've got to make sure our media partners are sharing this word and protecting you from those predators that come in and prey on you when you're vulnerable. That's why we have law enforcement. We're here to try to create a deterrent. And I promise every single day it's going to get better. Now, some people don't have electricity, but thanks to the governor's efforts, 42,000 linemen later, almost everybody does. But if you're operating off of a generator, this is a carbon monoxide detector. Okay, these are free. You can go right over here to this tent right behind me, and we will give you one. You never want to run your generator anywhere inside your house. That means not in your garage either. Your garage is inside your house. You don't want to run it anywhere near an open window. Okay, and when you fill these things up, you got to let them cool off. So there's like a 20-20-20 rule. So after you start running, you want to make sure the generator is at least 20 feet away from your house. When you're going to refill up with gas, you need to let it cool off for 20 minutes, okay? And then make sure you pick up one of these because you don't want to have anywhere. We have deaths that happen afterwards because people don't know any better. You're struggling. You're looking for answers. So that's what we're here for. Dane and the emergency manager, Kevin Guthrie, and the governor's office, they put this amazing group of forces, and they're leaning forward. They really are. They're leaning forward to hold your hand to help you get through this. One thing I want to share about with the governor and first lady. So, and this kind of tells you the testament of this couple. And he gets sworn in as governor, and Michael hit my hometown of Panama City. Okay, devastated where I live. The first day he is officially in office, he's in Panama City. The second day he's officially in office, he's in Panama City. And what's he doing? Hurricane Michael recovery. And here we are 4 years later, and he still talks about Hurricane Michael and what he's doing to help Northwest Florida. That's the type of service you're getting out of this public servant right here. I'm so proud. I'm so proud to be part of this effort. I'm so proud of his leadership. And it's not going to happen overnight. You've got to be patient. You've got to work. But this governor is pushing harder than anybody I've ever seen lead the state through a disaster. It's been amazing, his leadership. He's put together a heck of a team. And the last thing I'll leave you is our urban search and rescue teams. We had deployed over 1,100 men and women, as the governor said, had physically touched over 100,000 structures. They're departing. As they depart, you will start to see your community start to come back together. You'll start to see the roads. You'll see the debris start to get cleaned up. But again, the insurance process is going to be a little bit longer. That's why we got these villages. That's why we're pushing the carriers to write their checks. You're going to struggle finding contractors. You're going to struggle getting somebody to replace your roof. I just got to warn you, make sure you're dealing with only a licensed Florida contractor. Here's a problem that's going to happen. You're panicking because you have a hole in your roof. You're going to agree to sign up with somebody because you're vulnerable, because you're passionate, because you're concerned. If you don't sign up with a licensed Florida contractor, we have got no way to go after them if they do a bad job. So again, you got to do a little bit of your homework on there. And that's why I remind people over and over, your first call needs to be to your insurance agent. Your second call, if you don't know who your insurance agent is, call your insurance carrier. And if you don't know who your insurance carrier is, then call us, 1-877-MY-FLCFO. If you make your first call to one of those three, we will help you. Don't sign up for anybody to help you with your claim right now. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're going to get $100,000 potentially, but your carrier initially gives you $50,000, okay? And that's not enough to do the job. You get your bids, that's not enough to do your job. If you go out and hire somebody, they're going to get a piece of that money. They're going to get it. So call us. Let us break loose as much money as you can. You could always hire public assistance. You can always hire a public adjuster. You can always hire somebody to help you manage your claim, but get your maximum dollar without anybody else being on the process. Anyway, it's going to be a long road, but but the state of Florida stands together. We're not going to leave you. We're going to be here. This guy has been here every single day for 2 weeks straight. Proud of this man. Thank you. God bless.
Well, we're really fortunate to have so many great people working so hard to help these communities. I was down in Collier County Friday night. We stopped by, even though they had record storm surge. They had their crosstown rivalry high school football game. Community turned out. Schools had just opened that week. Now we're going to have Charlotte open. You're going to have that happening. You see a lot of the infrastructure is bouncing back in terms of businesses. And look, it's not easy, but I would say the resiliency has been incredible. And that's a lot of just about the people here. And so we're fortunate to have a great state and have a lot of great people. So thank you all. Okay, any questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so they are going to have an announcement, I think, this week. They believe that there's a number of schools that can go back relatively soon. As you know, some of them were destroyed, and there's some others that have. But you will have very soon, I think, there'll be announcements that a significant portion of Lee County is going to go back to school. So that's really, really good, and it really helps. And I tell you, I talked with some of the mothers in the shelters who lost their homes, and they weren't worried about their home. They were just worried about their kids being back in school. So it's a big relief to a lot of parents to be able to do that. And we thank the school systems for working really hard to get back as quickly as possible. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. He has the
Can you
logistics
talk
for
to
you.
Kevin?
I'll talk to it too.
But we did do an emergency in my initial executive order. We had emergency prescriptions. Okay. Well, we'll talk to Kevin. We'll get it worked out. Yeah, it's not a problem. So, yeah. Yes.
I'm 100% disabled veteran. This is my third major hurricane, and this is the most organized response.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. We'll go. I'll say hi to y'all. All right. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, one here. Yeah.
So go ahead.
So if you don't mind, just repeat the question one more time. Yeah, so the Blue Roof program from the U.S. Army Corps of our Engineers cannot get into that type of situation. What we would recommend them do is, we still have a couple of places that still have tarps available. If they cannot afford a tarp, they cannot find that, then they can contact us at the Florida Division of Emergency Management. We'll start putting those pieces together, working with a nonprofit agency on how we can do that. Possibly put some something attached to the fascia of the gutters and whatnot, but we'll figure that out. Okay.
Great. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want to say, though, as a mom, I think you see us here day in and day out because we understand that this is not only a challenge for a lot of folks, but also for a lot of families. And so as you see issues arise, you've got an incredible team and a governor who never leaves to ensure that we're getting you everything that you need. So as a mom of a 4-year-old who's running around here somewhere, we're here and we got your back.
All right. Thanks, guys. Okay.